Hey everyone, I'm standing amidst our dormant Sarracenia, and today I wanted to start a new monthly video that we'll be doing that's going to really bring you guys in and show you what we do here. We're going to call it our Savage Garden Seasonal Check-In, because of course my business partner Peter was the author of The Savage Garden, and I'm sure you guys have that book. If you don't, go get it. But we really wanted to do this for a couple different reasons. Number one, I think as the business has grown, we've been in business since 1989. We had a major head start, almost every other carnivorous plant nursery out there. And I think that you see a lot of these little carnivorous plant nurseries starting out. And then you see us being more successful. But of course, we have this huge head start, and we've been doing this for over 30 years. I always say, it'd be really sad if we weren't good at this. But you know, one of the things that I think I've noticed as things move on is there's kind of perception with our polishedness and our success and just everything that we bring to the carnivorous plant community, that somehow we're this big, like, Amazon carnivorous plant corporation that's just in it for the money and trying to, like, you know, squash out the small timers. And that's actually not true. We're actually friends and really supportive with almost all the other nurseries out there. And we ourselves are a mom and pop. There is no carnivorous plant Amazon. There is no corporate carnivorous plant nursery that's trying to control the market and smash it all out. It's just money hungry. Like, that absolutely doesn't exist, luckily. What we do have is California carnivores. We've done this for a million years. We've set this industry standard. We've taught people how to do it. You know, almost everyone out there is shipping the plants the way that we came up with. And we're just actually a small group of folks. There's me, of course, and Daniela, who you see, and you know, you've seen Allison on a few videos, but really there's only 9 people that work here in this whole place. And most of them are all friends that I've had for like 20 years, and we all just like super love each other. And even the people I haven't been friends with for 20 years really quickly become part of our family of California carnivores and really dear friends for me. So as I've always said, I'm always eternally grateful for anyone who will come here and help me bring carnivorous plants to people and fulfill my dream and fulfill their dreams in doing so. And so the people who work here are like my favorite people in the entire world. And I think mostly they feel the same way about me. Anyways, so we wanted to really introduce you guys to what's going on here so you can see how hard we work, how small we are, and how dedicated we are. It's a sunny day today, but last week we had the jet stream pull in an atmospheric river into California carnivores, slammed right into us, and we got like 17 inches of rain over 3 days. And guess what? We were all still out here packing your plants and shipping your plants and taking care of everything. I would have to keep walking out here to make sure that the drainage holes in these tables hadn't gotten clogged by some peat moss or scum and then gotten too heavy and tipped them over. So in the rain, I'm walking around here making sure and hedging off all kinds of problems that came from that. But we're out here in the cold, we're out here on sunny days like this, and we're out here when it's 100 degrees. Doing it all because we love these plants and we love the people who love them, and we want to make sure that you guys have access to the plants that have brought us so much joy. Anyways, the other reason we thought it'd be cool to bring you into this a little bit is we realized that you all have small versions of this at home. You have your own carnivorous plant collections that you care a lot about, and I think you're always trying to figure out, you know, well, what do I do now? Because we get a lot of questions about that. You know, dormancy is coming, you know, what do I have to do? And we feel like if you're seeing what we're doing, it'll make it really easy for you to mirror that in your own collections and really hit those windows. Because as I've said many times about this place, like, it really is a whole bunch of windows of like, okay, well, I've got to get all the Sarracenia trim back, and now I've got to get this done, and now I've got to get that done. And so timing really is everything, and we're hoping to improve your timing by taking advantage of our 30 years of experience. So I'm standing in the Sarracenia, so let's talk about Sarracenia. Obviously, they look a little rough right now. If you guys just got into carnivorous plants over the summer, you're probably learning right now that yes, they're temperate plants and they go dormant. If you've done this for a long time, you've seen this many, many times. It's funny because every time I see it, I'm always kind of like, oh, geez, are these things ever going to grow again? But they do every single year, and they come up just as beautiful in the spring. So they're going dormant. What do you have to do? Not too much. Most of the plants are using the day length and the temperature to know what to do all on their own. We keep them well watered. We don't like drain them. They're always sitting in water the whole time. And we're also not in a big rush to cut them back. It's December right now, a sunny December day in California, but still December. And we're not going to cut these back. We won't cut these back probably till the end of January, maybe like February even, something like that. We want to get them right before they start to grow, but you know, not too early, because this is actually giving them a lot of like frost protection of the rhizome itself. A lot of this is still green. A lot of this still has the insects in there, and so it's still pulling, it's photosynthesizing from the sun, it's pulling fertilizer out of the bugs it's caught last summer. And so there's really no big reason to go rush out and cut these all off. Just leave them be. Another thing I'm doing is looking for crosses, seeds. If you guys are crossing your flowers, most of them are, you know, ripened a few months ago and I've harvested those already. But I do so many that sometimes they'll be up. There's another one still here. So it's a good time to walk through the collection and just take a look and, you know, make sure that you haven't missed any of those seed pods. But yeah, not too much to be done with them at all. If you're in a super cold area, we have done numerous more detailed videos on what to do with dormancy, and you can always go check out our other more detailed videos about that. And likewise, if you have any, if I touch on any topic today that you guys really wish I had gone deeper into, put it in the comments below, and Danielle and I will make sure to make a video about that so you can, you know, get those needs met. Let's go look at another group of plants. We can go see what the Venus flytraps are doing. So here we are over here at our world-class Venus flytrap collection, not looking too terribly world-class today. All those old summer traps have died back, and now we're just left with a few small traps that they're gonna overwinter with. And now you end up with all these black old traps all over there, and people always kind of want to know, like, what does cleaning those up look like? And I usually just pull them off. Once they get totally black, you can just go through and pull them off. That one's will pull the whole plant out, so I leave it. But if it comes up easy, I'll just pull them off just like that. It's a little early to start doing this kind of work. In a few more weeks, they'll probably come off a little easier, but it is good to do. Like, obviously this would be a job that would take us like all day, but if you have a few plants, it'd be nice to take the 10 or 15 minutes to just pull some of these old traps off. And the reason for this is as these get old, if they stay really super wet, that tissue can actually start to rot. And if that rot happens, it can sometimes lead to botrytis, which is like the flesh-eating fungus of plants. It just starts to dissolve them. And so by taking off all these old leaves, you're kind of keeping them more hygienic, and it's less likely to lead to any kind of mold problems. And that's assuming that they're not under 6 inches of snow. If they are at your house, then just leave them be. And again, we've done dormant videos on what to do in cold areas. So that's our temperate plants, but we can go into the greenhouse really quick and have a look at what's going on in there. So I'm just gonna head on into the greenhouse, but then I thought we might as well walk by the chickens on the way in and see how they're doing. It's funny, we've always been a nursery, and we've always thought of ourselves as a nursery, obviously. But when we bought this property, we ended up buying agricultural land that used to be a chicken ranch. And it was funny, without having people coming in from the public and we're just shipping things out, it really changed our business model and our perception of ourselves. And I realized really what we are is like a small family farm that grows carnivorous plants instead of tomatoes or chickens or something like that. But we did end up getting a bunch of chickens. I like edibles too, so like there's a whole green space in the back that I'm keeping that we're gonna plant fruit trees and kiwis and blueberries and raspberries, and really develop that whole area as like a living, eating space for everyone here on the farm. And the chickens are a big part of that, obviously. They make fertilizer for all the other plants, not our carnivorous plants. And they actually end up eating a lot of our old produce that we grow in the back. So there's some delicata squash in there that we feed them because we didn't eat all of them. It's hard to eat a ton of winter squash. And actually they ate all of our old peppers, which made their yolk super orange, which is super cool. Anyways, on our way to the greenhouse, this gravel I'm walking on just got dumped yesterday just to do this one greenhouse and the gravel leading up to it. was 30 yards of gravel, which is about 500,000 pounds of gravel. We have a long property here, so it all had to be wheelbarrowed in by our small crew. So that was our horticulturalist, Sean and Tom, and our potterman tosser, and myself. We all took a pause from the important plant work that we were doing to shovel 150,000 pounds of gravel yesterday. But don't feel bad for us because we're building our dream nursery, and you can see it really finished everything off. But come on in. We've actually been renting a second location ever since we moved 2 years ago. And so part of the really difficult thing about this long transition that we've been going through was running 2 different locations. So that means pulling mail order from 2 different locations and driving, to go pick up plants there and bring them back here to ship out of our hub here at the farm. And so it's been really, really hard, and we've been eager to get everything all onto one property, but we couldn't do that. We couldn't move all the tropicals until our greenhouses were built. We're actually trying to get 2 of these done, but we had to focus down on one so that we could get it done quickly. And so here we are with just about our first finished greenhouse, and it is huge. I've never built a greenhouse this large ever. The old California carnivores had a 7,500 square foot greenhouse, but I was in Borneo when that was all being built, and it was done by contractors anyway. So this is my first time of really building a huge one like this. Like lots of you, I've built plenty of like 10 by 20 greenhouses, but this one is crazy. When you have a 30 foot by 100 foot greenhouse, every little thing, whether it's the gravel or the cables that hang the shade cloth from, the supplies, you need a lot of them, and it takes a lot of time. So like all construction projects, it's cost more and taken longer than we had hoped. But thanks to your guys' support, we've been able to do all this, and we're so close to being done. So you can see the Nepenthes collection has just started to be moved over. This is our one of our epic giant Edwardsianas. This is the one I call Edwardsiana Giant. Now it's 3 basils, and it's flowering up there. It's a male. Pretty much they're constantly flowering. Our old lowi is here on the table. One of the things about moving, I'm sure you guys have moved before and you know how hard that is. These things are all living things with very demanding, a lowi wants to have that same temperature range whether you're moving or not, and so it's been challenging for sure. But I'm pretty pleased with the move. We haven't really lost too many plants, and the plants are adjusting really well to their new home. We still have lots of benching to be built in here. So like first we got it all built, and now we're of course filling it up with potted plants. We never stop potting up, and we never stop shipping out. But then we're building benches. So soon here, next week, I'm hoping to build more of these middle benches, get all this stuff condensed and moved up, and that'll give us the room we need to get everything out of our second location and finally all be here in one spot, which is going to make us a much better machine. Like I said, we've been doing great, but under really trying times, honestly. And so as things get easier, you can expect to see that webpage becoming updated more often with more beautiful plants, and that's always a goal of ours. So super in the works.
Should we go look at the tuberous sundews?
Oh yeah, that's a great idea. Let's go look at the tuberous sundew. So lots of you guys probably hate the winter as much as I do. Even a weak little California winter like this is no fun. For me, it's the short, dark days, and of course the long, cold, rainy days aren't so, or feel long, but the cold, rainy days aren't so great either. But the tuberous sundews have always been a fascination of mine. I started getting these when I was like 14 years old, way back when they were virtually unavailable. And we've got a really great collection now. They're just starting to come up. We usually get them wet like around September, and we start to see growth then, but they come up at different times. So don't freak out if you have 3 different ones and only one is up so far. Just get them wet and they'll do their thing. Another thing that's going to be hard to believe, don't freak out about this too, is sometimes they don't come up every single year. We've definitely had years, like last year was a really weird year timing wise for some reason. I still don't really understand why, but we had certain pots of 2 by Stylus that didn't come up at all and then did come up this year. So don't throw those guys away. And don't lose your patience. Most of the time that tuber's still in there and it's going to do something eventually. They of course have beautiful little white flowers. Most of them are white. that are also fragrant. Some of them smelling kind of like tortillas, corn tortillas. Some of them smelling more sweetly fragrant like jasmine. But as far as I know, they're the only drawstrip. Well, that's not true. There's some pygmy sundews that are fragrant too, actually. And since I brought up pygmy sundews, most of those aren't moved here yet. We're gonna move them here next week. But now's the time to make jeme. Jeme are little asexual reproductive leaves that will form in the crown of your sundew. So if you're, not all sundews, just pygmy sundews. But if you're growing some pygmy sundews and you notice that they've taken on a completely different look, they stopped making little sticky leaves and they've started to make this little crown of round or pointy, like papery leaves that don't even really look like leaves. That little crown, those are called jeme. And in the wild, a raindrop would hit in the middle and they would go flying with the water, and everywhere one of those little leaves lands will root down and become a new pygmy sundew. Most populations of pygmy sundews, I don't think, are really using seeds to reproduce themselves at all. They're reproducing asexually this way. Not to say at all, but it's way more common for them to reproduce asexually with this jeme than via seeds. And some natural hybrids that are sterile are able to persist and reproduce that way in Australia anyways. And so we make ours that way as well, and now is the time to do that. We've done videos on how to do that, and so you can go and check out our more detailed videos on how to do it, but timing-wise, now is your time. One of the other challenges is just walking around everything all the time because everything's always moving around. Just like when you guys move, you're like, where did I put that? Oh, there it is. And then stumbling over everything. So the pink collection's mostly moved over here. And we're in that awkward phase of like in between succulent leaves and just starting to make those little succulent leaves. Some of them are, some of them aren't, some of them are about to. So, but we all start to dry them all out regardless right around now. We just sprinkled these overhead a few days ago, so they're looking pretty damp, but then we're gonna let it get really, really dry in between waterings, and surprisingly dry, like cactus and succulent dry. And that's a very important thing to do now in particular, because as these big, wide, sticky leaves start to turn brown and it starts to make tiny little leaves in the center, you want these to dry out, because again, just like the Venus flytraps, those old leaves, if kept too wet, is often where rot is going to start. Yeah, that's a good example, Daniela. You can see the succulent rosette in the middle, and then you can see these older leaves fading out. This is curly whirly. So just keep it really, really dry. You will lose pings. They're an ephemeral little creature. We do encourage you to do succulent leaf cuttings, and those are the best leaves to take leaf cuttings on. But we encourage you to do that over the winter. We're not going to do it yet. We usually do those right before they start to grow in the spring. But you always want to be making more of your pings in case tragedy strikes and one of them rots. We've had pings that have lasted for 20 years, but they're very delicate little creatures. And so it's every now and then you'll lose one, and the best insurance against that is making more. So I super recommend doing that. And of course, there's a few flush of flowers. Most of their flowering happens, I would say, in the spring and in the fall. Here in winter, there's not a whole ton of flowers, but there are a few. The nice thing about pings is they're kind of flowering all the time. So over here, we have some jeme that we've already done. We've harvested them carefully. We've sprinkled them on the soil, and you can see how every single one of those is now becoming its own little sundew plant. And this is how we get the big, thick carpets of pygmy sundews all flowering in mass that look really super pretty. And that's what's so neat about them, is if you order a pygmy sundew for yourself, especially right now, very likely you'll show up with some jeme on there, and then you can immediately turn it to 10, 30, or 40. Don't be surprised if your first little yearling plants don't make jeme. It can often take them a couple years to get up to the having the vigor and strength to do it. If you guys are still wanting to order more plants, and I know you are, because I still want to order more plants, and look how many plants I have. A great thing to start buying now are the subtropical sundews, because they don't need to go dormant. A nice thing about them is they're actually surprisingly cold hardy. They can take freezing, but when they freeze, they will go dormant and come back from the roots in the springtime. But we grow all of our Cape sundews in this beautiful greenhouse, and so they're huge and beautiful. And so if you want to bring in some self-soothing joy and order some plants, I super recommend ordering any of the subtropical sundews from South Africa. the Capensis, Alisiae, Cachicalis, Venusta, and that's how you say all those words. We get those mispronounced a lot. Anyways, lots of great Cape Sundews, and the Cape Sundews in general are something that we're trying to bring lots and lots of new varieties on. We have the Stellenbosch, we have lots of different site locations, places where they grow in South Africa, like Stellenbosch and Ceres. I'm not sure that's how you say those words, we're less confident about those. And then we're also making our own cultivars like Orange Sherbet, which is a beautiful orange Cape Sundew, Scorpio, which has curved leaves and a dark, beautiful pink flower. But Cape Sundews are one of those things, I think, in the future that there will be lots of people who probably just collect Cape Sundews the way they collect Venus flytraps. So we took a look at some of the other Sundew groups, and before I wrapped it up, I just want to come over and look at these beautiful full pots of Drosophila binata and Dichotoma. Dichotoma, Multifida, taxonomically are all technically binata, but horticulturally we classify them all because they're just so different, but no one's ever split them up taxonomically. But regardless, they all look like this in the wintertime. Actually, Multifida and Marston Dragon, if you can keep them out of the cold, don't necessarily look like this. But when they get a little frosty, they definitely will look like this. Again, you don't have to be really super fast to clean these up, but if you want to, you can pull these old leaves away very easily like that. You don't even need scissors. There's probably no big reason to do it. It's a good idea to do it before the spring, just so you don't have all these tacky old black leaves on there when the new leaves are coming up. Just so it looks a little bit nicer, but health-wise, you don't have to. Anyways, I hope you guys learned a lot. I hope you guys got to know us a little bit better. I'm really looking forward to doing this and bringing you guys in so you can really see what we do here and how great we are, honestly. You'll never find a better group of people doing something so nice anywhere else in the world. And I hope to prove that to you over these next few videos. If you found anything that you piqued your interest, and again, you want to hear more about, throw that down there in the comments. And we have tons and tons of videos on our YouTube channel. You can spend all day binge watching and learning about carnivorous plants, and I encourage you to do so. Poor Bubble.
Are you gonna rescue it?
Yes.
Watch out. There it goes.